Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I just want to make a quick introduction to this video. This video is going to be on beginning your journey to add breath work to your massage treatments to unlock your patients' deeply seated trauma and emotional stresses, chronic stresses, day-to-day stresses and traumas. This is what I've worked in for the last sort of decade and a half nearly now. My focus, or the thing that even got me into body work, was seeing emotion come out of someone's body, seeing trauma come out of someone's body. Without that, I just would have to say I would not be fascinated enough, or I would have been not captivated in pursuing a bodywork career had it just been about the physical body. So this video is about beginning that journey, beginning if you haven't had experience on how to, with simple breathwork techniques, change your patients' lives by unlocking their trauma. So another thing I just want to cover quickly is some of the wording that you might use to get your patients on board with getting into their breath, to breathe deeply through the massages, and not necessarily going through with the benefits or anything. Just, hey, I want to add breath work to my massages. What do I do? So what I might sort of say to one of my new patients is, what's really important within my body work is for you to breathe very deeply and focus on letting your physical tensions and pains go as we find them together. That your breath work and your focusing on releasing that tension could be the thing that actually releases the tension more than I can. I really try and empower my patients to, I can show you where the pain is, I can show you where the blockages are, together we can let them go. It's not about me, it's about both of us. So encouraging them to take a deep breath as you would in a stretch. If it gets uncomfortable in a stretch, or if you're familiar with yoga, asanas, take a deep breath when it's uncomfortable and breathe out and let go. Breathe into that area of discomfort. Focus your attention and your awareness to that area of discomfort and breathe out and let it go. Let your breath go. Let your whole body go. Fall apart and let every part of your body relax. Don't allow your body to hold when you're sore. Breathe in and let it go. Fall apart. Let your body fall apart. They're the sort of things I might say to somebody. I'll build on that as I'm going through the massage sometimes, but that's enough for now. I could talk about this for quite a while. Just want to get this video rolling. This video, we're going to sort of start working with the breath and give you something as a base to go back to, because it can be quite a difficult thing to understand how to connect someone with their breath, why to connect someone to the breath, and give them that experience of the benefits of breathing. So what you want to try and do at a very practical level is let someone experience what it feels like to have all of their breath pushed out. That in actual fact, most of us are holding this breath most of our lives. We have this shallow breathing, but we also have a very shallow exhalation. So we breathe in and out very lightly most of the time, instead of and then squeezing that last bit of breath out using our abdominals to push it out. So it's almost like you're going to be doing that in this massage, forcing this air out of their body, every last little drop at times, or even just a few times throughout the massage, just to show them how much more air they've got to breathe out. And it can be very beneficial and can keep your massages quite simple at the beginning where you're learning how to do breath work. So the first introduction for your patient on how they might be able to start to improve their breathing skills is by getting them to take a nice deep breath. Take a nice deep breath for me. Focus for my hand in your lower back. So I'll place my hand around their sacrum and encourage them to breathe there. Why do I do that? Is because most people will take a breath up into their chest and they'll fill their chest up, and that's the target that most of us have, where there's a lot of information from the Eastern traditions, from yoga and from Chinese medicine that we should be breathing down into our abdominal area. So that some people might not be able to do that, and it might take me a long time, not just one massage, but regular massage to teach them how to actually breathe nice and deeply in their abdomen, because they're so used to shallow breathing. But regardless, we go down here, take a nice deep breath for me, and then just let your breath go. So first of all, you could just, using your hands spread out and just your body weight, you can, without much effort, just lean your body onto them as they breathe out at the furthest part of the exhalation. So give me another nice deep breath. So that's one way to do it. If you have the strength like me, just make sure you're using large surface area, that it doesn't feel sharp. Don't use your forearms, don't use your fists. And in the next bit I'm going to show you to have another deep breath for me, Ali. Then you can lean your body on your hands and squeeze that air out. You can bounce a little bit at the end there to just show how there might be a little bit of air left. Don't do much pushing at the first part of it where they're letting their air go. It's more at the end. One more. So try and squeeze that air out at the end of their exhalation, and you'll most of the time get a lot more air out. Now that can be your kind of the thing they remember about, or a new thing they've just discovered, like, oh wow, there's so much more air that I can breathe out, and now I know what this person's talking about when they're encouraging me to breathe in and out deeply. And so that can be your aim through the whole massage, as to put enough pressure on with your body weight to bring about that same reaction. It'll have amazing results throughout the whole treatment if that's how you're applying your pressure through the whole massage, but certainly will it make it a lot easier for you to bring breath work to the whole treatment. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So then when you start putting your first, you're putting the oil on, doing your first stroke, you could say, give me a deep breath. And you could, sorry my hands are a bit cold. You could make that first stroke of application of oil. Another deep breath for me. Like that. As opposed to just rubbing the oil on. You can get them in there, into that. You can keep them in that breath. And then you might do a couple of rubs in between to disperse the oil, then watch as they breathe in, or say, give me another deep breath. So these strokes, and then give me another one. For the first little bit, you might be really captivated in, breathe for me. Right? You might have to be like, deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. And when that starts to happen, even just a little bit, you can then start to tune into their breath. the strokes are then in sync with their breath in some way. And so then what happens is, even if they start breathing more shallow, then you'll be able to see where that is, and you'll be able to work at their pace of their breath. When don't worry about stopping, but have your hands on the person's body. Right, so and then if you get to the point where, okay, I don't like the way they're breathing, it's not as good as they could, then you say, give me a nice deep breath. And you might actually do something with a bit more broad surface area pressure. It's just based around getting them to appreciate breathing differently. That's the main thing. You want to make them appreciate what's happening, why to do it, and that it feels good. And then you might say things like, that's great. You're doing that really well. You're breathing much deeper now. Anything to make them feel good about how they're doing it, and it's amazing how much that impact can have on someone when you just encourage them a little bit. Your breath will also help remind them, because you can only tell them so much before they might get annoyed. And all it might take is a nice deep breath, and then they'll do the same thing. So this is really good for you and for your patient. Working like this all day, taking these deep breaths for you is super beneficial. So it's like a win-win. So this is a really good way to start to get in tune with your patient, for them to tune into you. Builds a level of trust subconsciously as well. And then once you've tuned into their breath, then you can tune them maybe into your breath, because you may want to work a bit faster or whatever it might be, differently to how they're breathing. Because some people breathe really, really, really slowly, and they just hang in that exhalation for ages. And so you want to change the way they're breathing a bit. You may want to make it a bit quicker, because you've got a lot of work to do in this massage. Or you may need to slow it down, because their breath might be too quick. Can you see how you're breathing differently now, Ellie? Yeah. And it's pretty natural. Does it feel pretty natural? Good. Does it feel nice?
Yeah, it feels like necessary.
Ah, good, good. Great. That's exactly perfect. Well said. You want to make them appreciate it and see the benefits and the importance, and it can be super quick. So this part of the massage is where you can set the pace of the breath, which can then help you throughout the rest of the body. First of all, get someone understanding how you may want them to breathe, or they start learning how to breathe a bit better. Whereas if you start in other parts of the body, there's nowhere else where you can have this same sort of pressure that will obviously affect their lungs. So it's more teaching by trying to tell them how to breathe deeper and where to breathe, where this can do that. So what you get really good at, if you practice this, is you get really good at reading people where they are at their breath and where they are within the massage. How it feels for them. Is it uncomfortable? Is they at their point of where it's tight? And you need to teach them at the next level of how to let that tension go with their breath. So yeah, having this, it's like the foundation. Once you get this right, you can just be cruising through the massage, and you know exactly, you can or get the skills to know exactly where your patient is. Are they in their thoughts? Are they sleeping? Are you not going strong enough because they don't need to breathe? There's no need for them to breathe to anything right now. It's just, relaxing or soft, or and that's great too. But then you might know, okay, I'm going to back off. I just want them to fall into like a dream state, kind of sleepy state. And often, if they're having to breathe, once you've taught them to breathe when it's uncomfortable, then you'll know they're still, wide awake and focused on their area you're working. So it's like the breath is the key to this whole thing. It's the key to their mind. It's the key to everything about this massage you're doing. Now, one thing I just want to point out with this is that try not to make this a thing where every stroke is at someone's pace of breath. Because what can happen is if you're waiting every time for someone to breathe and you're doing it on that exhalation, you could be working at this sort of pace the whole treatment, and that may not give you enough time to cover the whole body. It may feel awkward for the person. So what you can do is, I'm working with that breath, totally aware of it, waiting for it to come in. I might do a couple of strokes. Might be like this. There's that breath again. I might just, you get really good at working with this breath. Hopefully you can kind of hear the breath while I'm doing this, but even then I walked around the table and I caught the breath again. So then what you can get good at is just working. You could be doing something and letting them breathe, not really focusing on working and expelling the breath for a while, let's say. But then all of a sudden you could change that stroke to pushing the breath out. Then another thing you can start bringing someone's awareness to, your patient's awareness to, is letting go from their abdomen. Because they might be focused, you may have told them at some point that you want to have them focus on the areas you're working and try and breathe into and out of those areas. And you've been rubbing the back, so most of the time they've probably been just feeling where you've been working. It feels good on their back, but they're not thinking about the rest of their body. So what you say is, give me a nice deep breath. On the next exhalation, focus on relaxing your face, your jaw, your chest, your abdomen, and try and at all times be letting your abdomen and chest go. Because the abdomen's the first place where you, the chest and the abdomen's the first place you restrict when it gets uncomfortable. So you want to draw awareness to this area and then encourage people to really try and relax and fall apart from their core. So from this, with this idea, now this can take you through your whole rest of the massage. It's this connection. Take it around everywhere you go now. Like you're going to go to the legs. Yes, you might not be able to physically put pressure on the lungs to give them more of that experience of what it feels like to let the air go. But you can work it out. Now you've got a pace going, you've got a rhythm, you know how they breathe, you're very focused on their breath. More than likely when you go down, they're going to continue breathing in a similar way. If they don't have a reason to breathe, if they start getting sleepy or out of it, they might drift off. You can raise the intensity for any of those reasons. Make it a bit stronger so they're like, oh, deep breath. Try and get them to relax that. Also, you could be working the hammies and they're not breathing, and so you're working, you're still watching their breath, they might just be breathing more shallowly, and then you can, at the end of that breath, go back up here and push. And then you're back at the hammies. Back working the hammies, doing these big strokes, always watching the breath, always keeping your awareness here. Look at that while you're working. Don't look here. At the beginning you might need to look here for a while, but watch what's going on, how they're breathing. Make it about their breath. Wherever you're working, focus on your breath. So, you know, this is that foundational thing. Keep going back to this, and this will help you throughout your whole treatment. A big part of this technique, so firstly, is you're going to get the skills to tune into their breath and to tune into each other, so you know what they breathe like. Next is absolutely what you said, is that you will learn how to control their breath. That's the perfect word, because if you get expert at this and you want to help them facilitate moving some of these deeply seated emotional traumas that we've all had in our lives, their breath might never cut it. They might be too held back in their breath. Oh, I'm just going to do this. Especially yoga people, they breathe in and then they breathe and they breathe out and they control their breath and they're in control the whole way, right? You want to totally control that person's breath. You want to make them breathe out quickly sometimes and expel the air. Make them breathe quicker, like I said. So no, and absolutely. Once you get in tune with someone and they might now feel in control in some way. They might feel more in tune and naturally feel comfortable, and they trust you, and there's all this subconscious stuff that happens when you tune into their breath, that 15 minutes later, they might be completely breathing the way you now want them to be without them even knowing anything about it. Right? So it's a very good comment that you made there. So now, even though we have been talking and, whatever, like there's been a break and I've gotten this thing, I could very quickly just go, hey, deep breath. And you're back. Yeah, you're back into it. I mean, so you could probably see it yourself. You're back to like right? And so now, as you're walking around the table, you're going to be pottering along and you're going to have to get some different sheets or different oil or, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Move around the table so you can keep this breathing going. So if I'm, say, going to move to the other side and I've just been focused on that, I'll say, give me a nice deep breath. And I'm walking around, right? I might even still caught it at that last bit still, right? But even if I'm not going to, or if I have to get something, deep breath for me. And relax your jaw, relax your face, and here I'm getting some oils while you're doing that still, right? So you can completely incorporate this from beginning to end without any difficulty. It's simple, it's real simple. It's just about talking and giving that initial experience. Nice deep breath for me. What I did there was I do this thing where they're not breathing and I'll almost stop somewhere and make the breath myself. It kind of happens naturally. I can't really replicate it, but I'm that comfortable now and it's so ingrained in me that I will do all these pauses. I might wait like this, and then that's how you encourage the breath. With this speed, you can encourage someone's breath while they're in this breath work that you're in. And then what you can also do is now go show them how beneficial the breath is going to be with getting through tighter, more tender areas. Then you might back off. So even though you can't see this part of the body right now, it's not that important. The video is not sort of showing it. The important thing is this momentum. The breath will drive this momentum. If you're focused on breath, especially that first initial part of expelling the breath and pushing out that breath, it needs a bit of your body weight. You really got to get behind it. If you can remember the feeling you had in that part of the body, that's the sort of, at least that sort of pressure you want to start taking throughout the rest of the massage. This is the perfect example of the observational skills that then come from watching someone's breath and being in tune with someone. You'll pick up on anything. You'll pick up on everything through the breath, through how the breath behaves. If they stop breathing, typically when you're going stronger, you'll know why. Because it's a bit uncomfortable, and so then you could either back off, just at like 0.2% of your pressure or 1% of your pressure, and you'll see they can let that breath go, and that's when you start to see how far you can take them with still being able to let their body go. And this might be at a level yet where you're not yet comfortable getting them to make sound, they're not comfortable getting, making sound, and being really open about, basically just the expression of what this massage feels like, right? Because it might feel so uncomfortable that you're like, ow, that hurts, right? And no one's comfortable to do that. Typically, they're not like, that feels like crap, right? But then breathing through it, what happens if they go, like that? They'll be breathing out, and they'll be expressing the honest truth, where most people will be like, damn it, that hurts. Then they hold it inside, and then they don't actually express this hurts. So with unlocking somebody like this, when it comes to that deep sort of emotional unlocking of someone, this is part of it. Getting them to be expressive on the table. Even expressive like, that expression might start with, that feels so good. Or, I'm so relaxed on this table. Yes, bring it on. That's what I do when I get on a table. I'm just like, I'm starting to sigh and let go, because I know, hey, I can let go. And most people, when they first meet you, first couple of massages, they're like, who's this person? They're awkward, they're uncomfortable. But then even just in life, how many people these days are honest with each other and honest about how they feel? And it's difficult, to be honest. So it's just very natural to be locked up and, I don't want to show this person that this hurts. I want to tough my way through it. I'm holding my breath. So this initial first technique that I was talking about is working at that level where if you got a pain threshold of 1 to 10, and 10, it's just that off the Richter, they can't handle that discomfort, it's too painful. And then they might start to resist at like a 7.8, right? They're resisting at a 7.8. Then you back it off to a 7.6. So they can still let the breath go, but they're still having to work. So it's like, I can't work at that. That I can breathe it out still and relax. And you just backed off a teeny little bit. So this is where getting completely in tune with someone's breath is just going to change everything about how you, or everything about how you step forward into a massage career. Without the breath, this is almost just a physical thing. Without tuning into someone's breath, this is just purely physicality. Muscles, anatomy. And yes, of course, you might have some releasing and you might tune into people. It might happen naturally and you'll unlock trauma. But this is a much more, much quicker route to unlocking this emotional trauma, but then also just connecting your patients to their bodies more. A lot can come of it. With most meditative practices, the whole thing starts with breath. Breath is the beginning of so many things. And most of us never realize that, or remember that we're breathing. You're just breathing throughout your whole day. You never, oh yeah, that's right, I'm breathing, and connecting with that. So here, absolutely, the feet is one of the best areas to control the breath on the body. It's so tender. There's so much tension in the feet. That's why the feet are one of my favorite parts of the body to work, for this specific purpose of getting an emotional release, because every little point could be an encouragement of breath or an emotional, a part of the body where the body dumps emotional trauma and stress. So remember, the body is like expert at dumping emotional stress into areas and nooks and crannies of the body where you're not going to find it. If it was easy to find, then we'd probably, or maybe it's so expert, it's like trying to find every last little nook and cranny to squish these emotions that we're stresses that we're constantly experiencing every day into all these little nooks and crannies of the body where your body can't find them, or where you can't find them, the body knows where they are. So the feet is one of those areas. It's typically really tender and sore all over. The toes are sore, tops of the feet are sore. It's not only because we treat our feet badly and chuck them in shoes for our whole lives, it's that they hold a lot of emotional trauma. Had heaps of releases from working the feet comprehensively with the breath. So connecting, you don't have to be looking. You can be so good now, you're listening. Hearing where they're uncomfortable. Or, I want you to breathe harder now. I want to start really getting you to breathe. So yeah, you're breathing a little bit now. You could easily do a whole treatment just with this sort of breath work and have some really strong experiences of emotional release. But with any techniques, sometimes it's not guaranteed. But if I was to really target this treatment, very much of bringing out extremely deeply seated trauma, then I would work a particular way, and that may be to really control the breath, to really bring out what we were talking about before, about bringing out this honesty, bringing out the deep-seated trauma of honesty, the deep-seated trauma that might be related to honesty. So some of these traumas often aren't easy to bring out, so you really got to bring them out. How hard is it to not? It's so hard for example, for emotions, to not be a shy person. If you're a shy person, you can't just be a shy person easily. Sometimes these emotional traumas and emotional things we have, like I said, how hard is it to get rid of anger? How do we move anger? So a subtle, soft, nice breath like this might have amazing responses, but it also might not move it because this person's way too locked up. So you may go harder. Show them how much they can breathe this out. I don't feel this is appropriate with the time that I'm going to invest in this particular massage I'm doing right now. It's a specific purpose just to encompass the beginnings of getting into this type of work. But you can make them make the noise. Sometimes you have to go to like a 15 on the scale of 1 to 10, where they're pissed off with you, they scream or they get angry. And there's that emotion, there's that anger. They get angry when it hurts a little bit too much. That's what you want. Now you're bringing out, there's some anger down there. There's some frustration. I'm really frustrated that this hurts so much. So you can tap into that. Start stirring those things up with combining the breath. Then you might pull it down a bit. Then you can really increase this this technique of empowering the patient with strong, deep breath work, because this is just the beginning of how deep that they can breathe. But if you're new to this, then at the beginning stages, or not even new, uncomfortable. So if you're uncomfortable with making people uncomfortable, and which a lot of people are, then just work in this way with the breath. And then whenever you feel you're at that point where they're getting sore and where it is tender, just back it off a little bit. Keep it, but make them know that their bodies are holding a lot of pain. And encourage them to let that pain go. Show them how it actually goes. They want to give them that experience that their breath and their focus and their relaxation can let this pain go. Then they'll breathe. Then they'll get on your table the next time and they'll, yeah, I'm ready to breathe, because it's the thing. It makes me feel so good. The lengths of your strokes can encourage the breath. A short stroke, short, quick strokes like these, make it actually quite difficult to tune into your breath or being hypnotic and repetitive with your breath and steady. So I avoid these sort of strokes purely because of how it completely doesn't sink in with the nice, repetitive, deep breath, like these big, nice strokes can. Nice deep breath for me. Another deep breath. So even though I'm working now in a way, and it may be what it might seem like a way that's not in this repetitive hypnotic breath, it's still very much, the touch is focused on what part of your breath is. So I might do a couple of strokes as you're breathing in, and then as you're at the furthest part of your exhalation, I'm making the stroke the strongest. So allow that space for the in-breath. So as you breathe in, or as your patient breathes in, you're coming out, or you're in very softly. So as I take a deep breath, you might just be doing something light, and then there's something a bit stronger. Shaking is also very effective. Nice deep breath again. So one of the ideas here that is important to remember is that you want to try through how you're touching this person to have them engaged in that area of their body and their breath that you're working. So their mind is very single focused. They're not thinking about their day. They're not drifting off to sleep. You can get that. That'll happen sometimes, even working like this, but what you really will want in a perfect world, they're focusing on where you're working and letting that go. This is where making it a little bit uncomfortable. So they have to get their mind and breath to this spot. It's uncomfortable, so they have to work out letting it go a bit. So that's how you can also make them breathe. And so what we said before was, okay, that's maybe like a 7.8 now, and I can see like we're getting to that. You know, typically around an 8 you start having to work. A 9's like, whoa, okay, I might have to make some noise, and 10 you might be screaming to still stay relaxed and let your body just get it out. Whereas at the 7.8, 9 mark, you're like, whoa, how do I let this go? How do I let this go? You're focusing on it. You're pulling your body, your breath into this area. You don't have time to think. Okay, holy crap, I was just thinking about work again. This is not what you're actually saying to yourself, but they could be thinking about the things they have to do in their lives again, and you, the practitioner, bring them back into, hey, your calf muscle is locked up and there's a whole bunch of tension and crap stored down here. Breathe it out. So the aim is to kind of be having their mind captivated the whole time. So they're not thinking. It's almost like the perfect way to, you're almost doing the perfect yoga asana treatment in this massage, because you can at any moment, get them completely captivated in their body again, and breath. At every part of their body, their little pinky toe. And then the outcome of that is the quietening of their mind, obviously. They don't have the thoughts, the judgments disappear. They're not judging how uncomfortable, although they're not judging the, I was uncomfortable around this person because they're touching my body and I'm, pretty much naked on this table. They're just focused on their body. They don't have time to think about all the other nonsense that clouds your mind, that impedes on actually unlocking yourself and just being yourself, right? The ego goes out that, am I fat? Am I looking, the self-consciousness about when they're touching these areas of your body that you're insecure about, that can go out the window because it's like, I don't have time to be insecure because this is a bit uncomfortable and I have to focus on my breath now. So there's a huge, huge power on making it a bit uncomfortable for this outcome. For those who may struggle to do that, think about the benefits it can bring as opposed to the things that stop you making people want to, experience their body in this way. Or your fear around that potentially. I know that some people are fearful about making it uncomfortable because they might not even like getting strong massage or body work themselves. So try to leave what your perception is for your own body somewhere else, and this person's body is very different to yours and may respond totally different to different types of things. Because if you do this right, and your desire is to make people feel really, really comfortable and really, really peaceful and really relaxed at the end of a treatment, this will do it hands down better than any type of soft treatments. Because in a softer treatment you can fall asleep and you can pass out and not have this one-pointed focus of breath, body, breath, body. Your mind doesn't go anywhere else. That's like high-level meditation type skill and training, because it's so hard. I don't know how many of you have tried this, to sit in meditation and focus on the one thing. You can't do it for longer than 30 seconds, right? Then your mind comes up and then it's like, oh, I'm a bit uncomfortable, or you get that story about what you got to do later, or the girlfriend or the partner or the husband or the kids come into your brain. So the power in doing this well gives them one-pointed focus throughout potentially an hour and a half or two. And they come out of that potentially feeling the most calm and the most quiet their mind has ever been in their life. So remember that for when you may struggle to take someone through some of their discomforts in their body, that the outcome of that could be way more beneficial than you can kind of picture right now. Now, if you don't have the strength and the technique to work on a level at the feet that is at that level where you can show people where their tensions and tenderness is, then I encourage you to hold points. Just rubbing the feet will be more than likely ticklish or not slow enough. You could also make it really, really slow if you can't get in there to actually make it feel like it's a deeper type treatment. Slow it down massively, just super slow. Bring people's awareness to this area, because often people can be drawn to doing a bit of rubbing style stuff on the feet. It doesn't feel like there's much benefit to that for the patient. So just slow it down if you don't have the strength yet. Or hold. Hold points all over the sole of the foot. Doesn't matter where. Hold them for an exhalation. Hold them for 2 exhalations. It'll have a really beneficial sedating, calming in the mind effect. And this can have a completely different type of effect, typically an agitating one. Or a ticklish one. Now, getting more technical for that emotional release, the feet can also be very good at, as I said before, controlling the breath and really making someone start to work, teaching them how to let go, how to actually deal with this discomfort that's locked in their body, and how to breathe it out, and how to be honest with, oh man, this hurts. And be honest with getting into their breath and just comfortable and unwinding. So feet are perfect for that. Toes hold so much tension. Released so many people in my time from their feet. I'm not going to do that right now, I'm just going to talk about that. And another part of this, the treatment is, think about it as like it's a roller coaster ride, and the roller coaster ride might start out pretty slowly, then it's all crazy in the middle, and then it flattens out a bit, and the end of it's nice and chill. Same thing with the massage. You'll go up and down, it'll change. You bring that intensity in the middle, raise it up, start off in a way that they can digest. You're warming up the body to start with, getting them comfortable with understanding what their breath and learning how to breathe properly. And then you really take them up, and make it maybe intense, but then equally as intense as you've made it, you can make it equally as relaxing and calming and soothing and nurturing. The whole way it's nurturing, but by all means bring it down. Bring that nurturing softness. However, in my perception and my belief, you still want to make every stroke have a very significant purpose and keep it within this big stroke. Don't start doing these big, repetitive, sedating, hypnotic strokes with your body weight behind them. Give me a nice deep breath. Another one. And in my experience, when I do this, I can basically onboard just about anybody into energy work. I treat a lot of tradies, and I have for about 15 years, and those blokes don't feel very comfortable with energy work typically, or at least didn't 15 years ago. So having a bloke do a subtle touch with them breathing like this would be, as a treatment, would be quite uncomfortable, even for a lot of guys these days. At the end of after a strong massage connecting someone's breath, they begin to let all that stuff, they don't begin to let it, it lets it go, this stuff on the mind. And you can be present, just yourself, just experiencing what it feels like to have these warm hands on your back, as opposed to all the other preconceptions that you carry with you. You're moving this stuff off people. You really are. You can really change people's, not only remove trauma, you can change the way people relate to themselves and relate to other people, how they think, without saying a thing. So yeah, hopefully you'll get to experience some of that with some of these simple techniques. How you doing there? So you did you nod off a few times there? So yeah, there's quite a lot of that. It's good. A thing that you can see that anybody can learn from this is that I'm talking the whole time. I'm doing strong body work that's uncomfortable, and you're falling asleep. Right? When do you fall asleep? When you're getting a Chinese deep tissue massage where they're wobbling around. Right? You're not going to fall asleep. Yeah. You get up and you walk out and you're wide awake. Right? So this thing we're doing with this breath work, it's incredible in my opinion. It's phenomenal that, through me blabbing the whole time and doing the strong work, you're still able to fall asleep. So just think about that part of it. Don't worry about anything else, right? So you do that and you'll have the outcome. Another huge thing this is like a bit of a side topic, but it's worth touching on now, is that first of all, connecting your breath. Hey, your breath can let these tensions go. Breathe into that area. Try not to let your body respond and hold tight. It's a reflex thing, a fight or flight. Try to not let your brain get involved and your body, and you just go to that area, that tension exists, breathe it in, breathe into it, and let it go. And don't give it too much attention. Don't give that, that feels painful. Don't get involved too much with it. It's painful. Okay. Wow, that's painful. Holy crap. Okay, sweet. It's painful now, it's not painful anymore. Now, this is because you're going to get hopefully good at really talking your patients through some of this stuff, right? So some of the conversations I have is like, okay, so the person who enjoys the pain, the satisfying pain, the sports person, the CrossFit guy, the typical person, most people love, get in there, get that, right? Get that knot, that's a good one. What happens subconsciously to that person is they're like, that's the spot. And they actually hold on to that spot because that's the good spot. And they want to relish in that spot of tension, that pleasure-pain spot. Where what happens there is you're actually restricting the release of that because you're holding on to it. Okay. If you're like, there's that bit, what's beneath that? What's underneath of that? So you can do the same thing with pain. Ah, there's pain. What's beneath that if I let that go? And so you have a more inquisitive look at your body to letting this stuff go. And it's almost a detached thing. Okay, it hurts. I'm going to breathe and see what happens if I just breathe and let go and not get attached to the pain and not let my body attach to the pain. Same with the pleasure. Okay, that's pleasurable, but what happens if I let that pleasure pain go? Whoa. Oh my gosh, my whole leg just totally fell apart. You can really, and the pain doesn't, the pleasure pain is not there anymore, but we're on a deeper, different level of pleasure pain, right?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing the human does. The human brain does this, right? Acknowledge that for yourself and your patients. It's going to help you get through the stronger massages yourself, and in turn teach them how to just have a different relationship with what's going on for them during the treatments you give. Cool, so I hope that's kind of, you know, helped you be able to take that to being more comfortable and having a bit more of a base understanding of, you know, connecting this massage.